hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young, it has just begun as she puts her hand in mine.
Hello, I wasn't meant to do that, my apologies. Hello and welcome to Readings from the Animal Kingdom. My name is Kareema and I am delighted to present to you again another weekly reading. This time... Welcome to Readings from the Animal Kingdom with Kareema from Pet Care Magic. I'm an animal communicator, a Reiki master who specialises in animals, and an intuitive psychic. And I like to combine all of those modalities into channeling messages from the animal kingdom for myself and for others. We live within a community of not only people, but a community of many, many wild animals, as well as many domesticated animals. You might have dogs or cats or fish or birds or rats or mice or whatever in your home, tarantulas, if that's the sort of animal you love. In your home, but then there's also a huge number of animals outside of your home, from big to small, up in the sky, down in the earth, even under the earth, in the trees, right around us. And all of those animals, at any particular point in time, may or may not have a message for you. And I'm going to invite you through these readings done every week on a Sunday, hopefully, to listen to that message, take what resonates for you, and open up your way of thinking over the following week into how that message does or doesn't fit into your life. It's okay if it doesn't. It's okay if only some of it does. That is 100% up to you. The animal kingdom has no egos. They don't mind. They just hang around out there, and if they're given an opportunity to communicate a message, they will. Each week will have a particular theme to it. Before I start the reading, I will meditate on what animal I think has the overarching message for that week. And I will then choose which of the numerous animal-themed decks I have to work out which deck I will be using for that reading. So I'm obviously going to have to rechange that intro just a little bit, because last week I had such a great time going to my crystal deck, a deck I said that I don't actually use to read for people, but I got quite a lot of insight out of it last week. So I thought I'd do the same thing again this week, because it was feeling like there was enough coming through from the animals and individual card readings, and that the crystals that are more, that I needed to bring in more of a natural element to it. Not that animals aren't natural, but more of the earth to it. Digging more into not what was on the surface of the earth, which is where our plants and animals live and where we live, but digging more into what is underneath the surface. And I think doing that by using the crystals. And also you've seen a bit of a theme from me over recent weeks where I've also looked into more natural phenomena like earth, wind, fire, storm, that sort of style of thing. So I played around with the crystal deck this week, and I pulled the pyrite card. As you can see here, this isn't the best photography of the card. It actually has, because
green tinges to it, but it's got a lot of facets in it. And that's what I'm drawn to on the card. I pulled out the book and sort of read the book, and the book was more about an individual, how an individual person's feeling. And I wasn't sure, I don't feel that the way the book's written, the background or the understanding of the card fits this. So I'm getting a little bit more intuitive here. We're looking at emotional balance, psychological strength, relationships, and protection. And that fits in very well with the themes we've been seeing over the end of last year and also over through into this year. Emotional balance, I think a lot of people found very difficult over the last 3 years or so. Psychological strength, they certainly found that very difficult. Relationships, we know that relationships are becoming or have proved to be over the last few years more and more and more important. People are understanding more about how important relationships are to them. The lockdown years and the years of the hype about losing our loved ones has made people realise that our day-to-day living should not all be about work. It should be about relationships, and even relationships within your work, and of course protection. It's important that all of us are protected from the microbiological soup that we live in the middle of. That's the scientist in me coming out. We're surrounded all the time by absolutely billions of bacteria and fungi and parasites and viruses, which is what that's normal, that's nature, and that it's important to protect. It's also important to protect ourselves emotionally and psychologically from a lot of the increased media that we hear. Where I'm here in Australia, and they've started back on the COVID bandwagon here this week, warning everybody that imminent doom and gloom is coming because there's a new strain, blah 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 blah. You need to learn to protect yourself from that sort of noise. I love social media, don't get me wrong. Without social media, I couldn't do 3/4 of what I do, particularly as a disabled individual who can't get out and work anywhere. It's important to protect yourself from those nasty messages we are bombarded with every day. I'm not saying there isn't some truth in some of those messages, but what I'm saying is they're unbalanced, and that we need to have emotional balance. So the 4 points about the pyrite card are right: emotional balance, psychological strength, relationships, and protection. Ooh, excuse me, I'm woken up fairly sleepy this morning. I did get a sleep in, but that's usually made things worse. So that's the card that's bringing us the overriding thought pattern for this reading. And this week I am using, and I've got a funny feeling I haven't changed the text here. Come on, move on to the next screen.
I'll invite you now.
So this week I'm using the Dreamtime reading cards from Laura Bowen, an Australian First Nations person who grew up not far away from where I live. I don't know where she lives now. I haven't used these cards for a while, so I've challenged myself to go back into using them. They are a bit of a challenging deck to use in that draws on things that as a 7th generation white Australian are not naturally inherent to me, so it makes me draw back into the First Nations and the real owners of Australia, draw back into what their feelings are and how they relate to the world. So I think this slide is going to tell you what we want you to do. What I want you to do next.
Now to click pause on the video, look at the card A, B, and C, and jot down either in the comments below or on a piece of paper, wherever you think is appropriate, which card resonates most for you. This is not something you have to do within seconds. It might take you a couple of minutes. At this point, you might walk away and say, I'm not going to do this today. That's all very fine. But is it A, B, or C that most calls to you?
So card A that I pulled from the deck is the Lightning card. It's on a surface level, very applicable to this time of year. Here in Australia, we're in summer. We're a month and a half, about a month and a half into our summer season. And summer, our monsoons just started far up north. I mean, 2,000-3,000 kilometres, further north from me. But that means a lot of rain up there. And also we're on, I believe we're back on, not us, not me where I am, but further up North Queensland, are back on cyclone watch again for a couple of cyclones that were forming. And it's a period in which there's always a lot of atmospheric instability. We have very hot days. We're talking sort of up close to the hundreds in Fahrenheit. In Celsius, it's sort of a normal day of about 32, 33, sort of low 30s, mid 30s, and sometimes in the high 30s on the east coast where I am, and then much, much higher inland in the more arid areas. It is common, so that's 37 is 100 degrees Fahrenheit common. And often you'll get the build up during the day of this heat, hot days, and then big storms. Sometimes very violent storms will come over in the afternoon, and sometimes they'll hit us quite hard. It's what we call storm season. And you get very used to looking out for these storms that are coming. There can often be hail within these storms. There can often be fairly high amounts of rainfall I'm talking inches of rainfall within a very short period of time. So that's on the superficial level. That's the lightning card. But lightning on a deeper level often is change. You'll get light. So you think about in nature, you'll get lightning strikes on areas. You'll get where I am to the west of me is what we call Crown Land Reserve. It's within reason natural bush. It's been like it since the formation of Australia. And we'll get a lot of lightning strikes out there, and now they will sometimes hit a tree. They usually won't hit a structure because there's no structures out there. They'll cause spot fires. Sometimes they'll cause fires that then go on to burn for a long time and then become more catastrophic fires. That's exactly what happened in 2019 when my farm was affected and we lost 60 odd houses in the area. I can't talk to other fire events we had during that period, but I can certainly talk very, very much about the fire event that happened in our area. Lightning struck out there in that area, way out, not even that far out to the west of me, about, I don't know, an hour's drive to the west of me, or to the west of where the farm is and the west of where I'm sitting here now. It caused a lightning strike, and then the natural elements of heat and humidity and wind combined together on the 19th of November, I think it was, the 9th of November, I've forgotten the date now, 2019, 8th of November 2019 was the date. It pushed that fire into a much bigger fire, and it swept down off the wilderness out there, and came down and impacted very heavily on the township. So lightning, when it does that, is a natural force that brings about a lot of change. It brought about a lot of change for the humans. It brought about a lot of change for the native animals. It brought about a lot of change for the fauna, for the flora, I should say, for the fauna and flora. It was a lot of change happened because of that, and that's what you often see within lightning. You even see. I'm no geophysicist, so I don't really know all the use of energy of lightning, but you see a lot of changes to the electrical atmosphere when lightning happens, when there's a lot of lightning strikes. If you go onto any of the lightning trackers, at this time of the year, you can literally see thousands and thousands of lightning strikes going on. So that puts huge change to the atmosphere. And if you're an intuitive or an empath, it often means you actually feel those changes. I certainly know the dogs feel them, and a lot of the wild and domesticated animals feel it as well. It's very much a symbol of change. It's very much a symbol of. If you look at this card, you've got the forks, the big forks. It sort of comes from one point and then forks out. I've seen some incredible photos of lightning that's been very wide at its base. So it has the power to change a lot of things. And it certainly means at this time of year, there's always very much, if there's going to be a lot of lightning around, there's always very much warnings about, be careful, take shelter inside, don't be out in the middle of the field when lightning is striking, don't be standing out there with an umbrella, don't be standing out there in the middle of a golf fairway. So that's card A. It's got quite a bit of a darkness to it, this card. Beautiful artwork on this deck. She absolutely has beautiful artwork. But this card has a bit of a negative feel to it, a bit of a scary feel to it. Whenever I look at this card, I sort of get a bit of a knot in the pit of my stomach with a bit of a scared feeling about what is going to change. Am I going to be able to cope with that change? Excuse me. If we go back to the crystal that we've got overriding all this, am I going to be able to have the emotional balance and the psychological strength to be able to cope with this change? How do I protect myself when these storms are going on? How do I protect the animals in my care? How do I protect my house, my land? How do I protect on a bigger scale the area I live in? With this huge amount of rain that we can get during these storms, we're also in the middle of king tides. King tides being tides that are bigger than normal. Particularly in Coffs Harbour to the north of me, they've been known to come in and inundate certain roads. And if we get huge amounts of flooding rain and king tides, we can then go on to get flooding. It's a really fun time of year. Our floods usually happen in February and March, in alignment with the king tides and in alignment with lots of these lows that form. The atmosphere is very unstable. So the two cards so far, the pyrite card and the lightning card, are really aligning quite nicely. Let's see what card B has to say. So card B is the butterfly. Love this card. Beautiful. Look at it. Look at the colours on it. And again, there's a superficial level to this, which is we love butterflies. Who doesn't love butterflies? Who doesn't love sitting outside and seeing, masses of butterflies around you? It's always a very special time in nature. They're beautiful. We get some absolutely drop-dead stunning looks on butterflies. This card takes me from the previous negativity that I felt and the fear that I felt over the lightning to hope, absolute hope. It uplifts my spirit. It uplifts my mood. It says to me, go outside and sit and wait and see if the butterflies come and visit you. And that's what I would hope would happen for you during the week. Take a chance to go and sit outside. Take a chance to be still and quiet and grounded and see whether any butterflies appear to you. One butterfly, two butterflies. I can't say I've seen that many of them more recently, but butterflies are here to remind us of the beauty. They're also here to remind us that life can be short. A butterfly's life cycle is not that long. I don't know the exact timing of it, but it's certainly not that long. I'm just seeing whether the book gives me any sort of indication. Rainbow of endless colours, representing transformation. Doesn't. The butterfly inspires you to trust that there is beauty to be found in times of great change. So we go back to the cards we've had originally. It is a time, and the readings we've had over the last few weeks, there is certainly a lot of change going on at the moment. Apparently, we're in a cycle where there is massive change going on. But the butterfly is the sort of it's the reward that things have been dark and things are going to get better, and that it's not a fast process, but it's also not a slow process. But there is a huge amount of change going on. Think about what a butterfly starts as. It starts as an egg, it hatches into a caterpillar. The caterpillar eventually becomes a cocoon, and finally, after spending time as a chrysalis, it emerges so completely different. I mean, massively different. Who would believe that an egg to a caterpillar to a butterfly, that amount of massive difference? And to me, what the butterfly always wants to tell us is that huge change is possible, but you've got to believe it can happen. And you've got to believe that when that change happens, and as that change is happening, you will be blessed by beauty and freedom, and to allow that change to happen, because you're not going to get the beauty and the freedom and the change and the massive change and the happiness that rolls up with that if you don't allow it to happen, and you don't trust that it can happen in the speed in which it needs to happen. But it's testing. Think about how these, where does a cocoon hang? If a cocoon hangs in a very vulnerable place in nature, then there's a high chance that that cocoon is not going to get the opportunity to come out as a butterfly. All the spots in that life cycle where the life cycle could be stopped. And from a nature point of view, are we allowing our caterpillars and the eggs of the caterpillars and the butterflies, are we allowing them to inhabit the natural habitat around it? What are we doing to our natural habitat that says we no longer welcome you? And that to me is very sad. That ad after ad after ad saying kill the ants, kill the flies, kill the bee, kill all the insects because it's a bad place to be to live with them. Well, that worries me. That worries me a lot, because we need to live in harmony with the insects. We need to live in harmony with the animals around us, whether they're big or they're small, or they're even things like cockroaches. Yeah, I don't like cockroaches either, but they have a place within the ecosystem. If you've been struggling with this change, you've got to understand that the process of transformation is to be tested. You must endure the darkness, and you must let that darkness happen. It not so much wallow in the darkness, but be prepared to be in that darkness, to work out what the true meaning of that darkness is all about, and how you can move out of that darkness into light and hope and joy, and be able to smile again. Certainly, we've seen that over the last few years. And I think a lot of people see it, not the last few years notwithstanding, but a lot of people also see that in just in normal life in general, because you'll get some challenges. No life is without challenges, and it's a case of working your way through those challenges, and always having hope that what's on the other side is going to be better. Seeing a great deal of negativity from people around nowadays, where it's sort of, oh my God, life is dreadful, life is bad, life is never going to improve. Life is about change. And I think the butterfly is here to tell us that life is about change, and we need to embrace that change and go with it. Don't fight it, but go with it. Okay, so let's have a look now and see what the third card is bringing us. So the third card is the goanna. And when I first pulled this card, a matter of sort of 30 minutes or so ago, I wasn't really quite sure what to make of the goanna. Love goannas. I have some goannas where I'm living, not where I'm living now, but out on the farm. Goannas are quite widespread here within Australia. They're beautiful creatures, absolutely beautiful creatures, but they're a little scary. Where I lived on the property prior to coming up here, it was 10 acres, wasn't property, it was just 10 acres, bush 10 acres at Currajong in the foothills of the Blue Mountains outside of Sydney. We had a resident goanna on the property, and he would have two spots. He would have two trees he really liked. And you would see him, if you went out the front of the house, you would generally see him up a tree not far from the front. I believe they probably had a burrow somewhere that he used to go into. I'm not sure whether that was in the tree or in the ground. Beautiful creature, absolutely beautiful creature. And for a while there, I had chooks out there, and I was worried that the goanna, this is a huge goanna, he would have been, I don't know, he would have been 4 or 5 feet in length. Huge big claws. Like they used to be fascinated to watch him go up the side of the tree. These huge big claws. Rock climbers would love the way he had the ability to, put these claws into the tree and run very fast up the tree. And for a while there, I had chickens, and I used to be worried that he would take the chickens. Occasionally, no, they would take an egg. I never ever saw him take a chook per se. I never had a worry about him. I had a litter of puppies while I was out there, and I also had puppies come and go from the place. Never saw him hurt any of them. So it was a case of we lived in harmony. The goanna had his spot. I knew where his spots were, and I knew to honour his spots, to give him a lot of not of forewarning of when I was coming towards his spots, and not get in the way of him or wherever he needed to go. They do eat prey. They're probably a fairly top level predator here in Australia. Incredibly agile, incredibly fast. I do know if you go around any of the sort of rubbish dumps where people have, like in campsites and things like that, you'll see goannas around there. So they're quite opportunistic. They have learnt very well how to live in harmony with humans, so long as you don't hurt them. And touch wood, most people seem to give them quite a wide berth. The word on the card is self-preservation. And to me, a goanna is an animal that commands respect because of the size of them and the fierce look of them and the claws that are on them. Most people treat them with quite a degree of respect, unlike what you see with snakes. They are in the monitor lizard family. I'm just trying to see if they're, I don't know how that relates to snakes, but people will be sort of keen to kill deadly snakes, they say, because they're frightened of them. You see less of that with the goanna. I don't know of anyone that's actually tried to kill a goanna. You don't see, when I went to the Northern Territory here in Australia a couple of years ago, I saw a lot of roadkill where people had hit kangaroos and hit emus, and birds of prey and birds and things, but you never saw a goanna. You never saw goanna as roadkill. I've never heard of, and even all the times when I've driven sort of through inland areas, I've never been in a situation where I've had a close encounter on the road with a goanna. Generally, I think they're smarter than that, and I generally think they're way out of the way before you come on the scene. So they've got a strong sense of self-preservation. Every time I've encountered a goanna, I've never had a standoff with them. They're generally well out of my way before I've even noticed that they're there. So they're very they're very good at being very quick to not defend themselves, but to preserve themselves, to get out of the way. And I think that's the message it's telling us now. It's this: be aware of situations, even including situations that no longer serve you. Be aware of them and what's the saying? Get out of Dodge quickly. That's not an Australian saying, that's an American saying, but get out of that situation sooner rather than later. Err on the side of self-preservation rather than the side of stopping and fighting. Look, goannas are more than capable of fighting for themselves. I would not want to be in an enclosed space with a goanna, trust me. I think I would come off really badly if I was to try and go up against a goanna. They would shred you with very fast if they wanted to, but they don't seem to. Their attitude is always, right, I'm out of here, goodbye, I'm gone. And that's, they can move really fast, even across land. They can move incredibly fast. They can move up trees very fast. They get out of the way incredibly fast. They also have a very, very thick skin. And if you were to give a goanna a personality, it's like, yeah, I'm good here. Yeah, I'm fine. It doesn't matter what you want to say to me, what you want to think about me, whether you think I should be here or I shouldn't be here, or I look ugly or whatever. Yeah, whatever. It's fine by me, guys. You think whatever you want to say. I've been around. They're very ancient creatures. That they're very capable of just letting any attacks just deflect off them. And they're saying that get rid of outdated ideas, get rid of any attacks, move out of any situations that are not serving you well. Shed only what you need to shed, because they don't shed a skin. Like a snake will shed the entire skin, whereas a goanna just sheds bits of, like it's more of a constant shedding, just sheds bits and bits and bits and bits of skin. So it's saying to you, shed what you need to shed in a more subtle way. Shed the bits you need, keep the bits. Shed the bits you don't need, keep the bits you do need. And the goannas have a very strong sense of personal space. This, like, I know with the goannas I've always interacted with, I don't see many here on the farm because it's a bigger area, and they tend. I have seen one. I remember now seeing the one that used to come and visit the front tree. There were some little birds and birds' nests and things that used to happen in a tree near the house, and I used to occasionally see a goanna come and one or two goannas, I'm never sure it was the same goanna, come and go up that tree. But they had very clear boundaries with me and themselves. Like I knew that I always had a sense that they were around. I had at times seen one coming and going from the chook run out at the farm. So I knew they were around, but they respected my boundary. Like they never ever came anywhere near the yard, unlike snakes, which will have less boundaries with humans. I had issues with snakes coming into the house yard and into the dogs' areas. I've never ever had an issue with a goanna coming into that. They really seem to be very clear about their boundaries, and their message is always respect and understand and enforce your personal boundaries. And stand up for what you believe in, says the goanna. Be strong. Don't let the barbs that are coming your way infiltrate your skin and cause you to not be strong. So we go back to the pyrite again, the original card here, which was psychological strength, protection, emotional balance, relationships. Be aware of how your relationships need to be shared, not only with people around you, but with the creatures that are around you. And the animal kingdom and nature is saying, learn to respect what we need, because we are happy to respect what you need. And beautiful colorings again on this card, very much earthy tones. The goannas are very grounded creatures, although they spend some time up in the trees. They are very grounded. They're very much in touch with nature, and they're survivors. They're absolute survivors. And I think they're saying to us today, you will survive. You may need to change. You may need to know your boundaries, and you may need to shed those things that are no longer working for you, but you will survive. Okay, I think that's about all for today.
Thank you very much for being here with me today. I hope you found this enjoyable. It is for educational purposes only. If you do want a fuller reading, then I do those obviously online, so you can be anywhere in the world. Just go to petcaremagic.com and you will find the link to book a time to have a fuller animal reading. Please like, subscribe and hit the notification buttons if you want to be notified when I do more of these each week. Thank you, and I hope you all have a really great week.